there's so many of these. The dead internet, because they're saying it's AI and all this. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe there is a percentage of that. Because I think one of the theories I read about was an AI bot will create an article, and it could be about this type of topic, and it will create a buzz. It will be clickbait. It'll get a bunch of clicks.
Explain to me what the dead internet
well, this
theory
is what
is. Okay.
The dead internet theory is that it's all fake now. That you're not reading information that was entered by a human. That it's all AI now, or has been since the start, since the inception. So I think what happens, it's like I think that a little bit of the Mandela effect plays into a lot of the conspiracies because people tend to forget the fine details, and I'm probably just as guilty of it when I bring up the stuff about assassination attempts and things like that. The dead internet is that you go on to, say, Facebook, and you're scrolling, and there's some clickbait thing, a real zeitgeisty type thing, like I said, the Trump assassination stuff, or against it real hard to the left, and you're a person that's real hard to the right, you're gonna react to that. Well, that's bullshit. Let me get in these comments and tell these motherfuckers what's up. You get in the comments, and there's real hard left comments that are left by a robot, basically, or an AI bot
stirred up
to keep it stirred up. And what happens is the more of that is out there, the more ad revenue is generated for the company that owns this particular AI bot. Okay? And then a percentage of those comments in the comments are other bots that are just looking around the internet for this type of stuff to keep it swimming, to keep it going, to keep your attention there. Then the next time you go out to your feed, now you've given the algorithm what it wants, and now you're stuck in the dead internet. Now you're in the black hole. I think there's a little bit of the Mandela effect in that because that process takes place every day. There are bots that put together ads and commercials and articles and sift through the news and throw it up and probably change some of it. And then people will say, well, this is obviously a bot, because every time I say something there, it's a car and it's very chipper. Well, thanks for looking at the Honda today. Fuck Honda. I'm really sorry you feel that way, but the Honda gets great gas mileage. Okay, robot, I think there's probably some truth to some of that. I don't know that the whole internet is dead like that. I think there's plenty of people out there filling it up with as much as they can. It just goes on and on, like the fake moon landing. People say it's fake. It was filmed in a Hollywood basement, like the song lyric,
Well, let me just interject about the dead internet thing.
Yeah.
That happens on, say, Facebook or some of the other apps where there's public discourse, and it's meant just to stir chaos, just to keep people engaged, like you say. But also, there could be a deeper real-world consequence to the turmoil that they're trying to cause. Not just clicks, not just ad revenue or anything, but to really keep a divide, really keep people wanting to argue and on the edge.
It's like I was saying when I brought up the art, the thing about the Trump assassination attempt, right? Any time where it's like choose a side type of thing, I think it's because, and so like I said, I'm not trying to sell anybody on the idea that was fake. I'm just making the point of somebody's going to say it's fake all the time, no matter what it is, right? And then somebody's going to want you to see how true it was and feel that emotion and support the victim of that situation. So I said it's because you need chaos on a side. You don't need it in the middle, because if the chaos is in the middle, you don't have anybody to blame. If it's on each side, one side or the other, you can say, well, it's them. See what they're doing, see what they've done to you, see what we can do to, move on from this or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be politics. It can be a lot of things. But in this country and in this situation, a lot of people go down that feed and eat up whatever's fed to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just can't do that. I'm such a doubter of everything that, like, even if it's something that I don't necessarily support, I'll still dig into it until I find an article or a piece of information somewhere that supports it, so I can go, okay, now I have both sides of this argument. I can form my own opinion.
But with the dead internet theory, are you even going to get the truth?
Exactly.
Or are you just going to get something that gets you engaged one way or another?
Exactly. I try not to. I try to just be like a neutral person. Like it's such a hot button thing to talk about with politics. And it's like my whole take on politics is like, I don't care who wins, because at that point, they've got the keys. They've got the job. I need you to do the job. Now, we can, again, same thing. You can pick apart either side that you're on of the political spectrum, because even though we say there's 3 or 4 parties, we know there's only 2.
Yeah.
So no matter what side of it you're on, there's probably moments where you are a little bit liberal, and there's times where you're a little bit conservative, or a lot of each. There's just there's moments in your life where you're forced to make decisions that you don't necessarily want to, based on what you know what I mean? Like a hardcore person that believes a certain way, there might be a situation that comes up in front of them where they go, damn, I need a minute. I gotta think about this, you know? And with discourse over all of these things, like I was going to talk about the moon landing stuff, because we love talking about UFOs and space and all this different stuff.
Conspiracies.
Sure. And if you say, well, that's bullshit, it didn't happen. The sand didn't do this and that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that there was a lunar landing, but things that were discovered, they can't tell us about, because it would cause too much havoc. And that's something that's way outside of politics and things like that. But, maybe somebody will let us into some documentation at some point.
Yeah. Well,
in our lifetime, maybe.
There's only good that can come from discussion, just to pick one side, and I don't want to hear anything from the other side.
Right.
It never gets you anywhere.
No.
That echo chamber is not good for you. Even if you end up not agreeing with it, and most likely you won't, at least listen and try to understand why somebody thinks the way they think, and then you can say, well, and then it's a conversation.
Sure.
We've lost that.
Yeah, and I feel bad for that, because it's like sometimes you do want to see, like, well, why do you support that? Like, tell me why. Like if I was going to support that with you, like, why? What is there about it? Well, it's this. Well, it's this headline. Well, you're just giving me a headline. I don't know.
Right.
It's
true because they said it's true.
Right.
And it's they said it's true because it is true. It's just, but why does it seems really in the last several years, it's got to be all or nothing. Like, you can't have a conservative view and a liberal view. You can't. You're just not allowed. You have to have all one way, all the other. I
was raised very conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously you might want to rebel against that. A super conservative, super controlled, lots of rules. People that still want that, people that still enjoy that viewpoint. When I became a parent, I think I became a little more liberal. And when I say the word liberal, I don't mean it politically. I just mean liberal in my decision making. Like, okay, like maybe I don't need to be the buck stops here in this particular situation. Maybe we need to let this play out and see, because a lot of situations when you become a parent and you're young, you've never experienced how that's going to go.
Yeah.
Because hindsight's great, right? But if you don't have any, maybe you should just be like, all right, hang on. We have some rules, but I'll let this play out for a minute, people's court style here,
Right.
I'll let you have your say, and then if it makes sense, maybe I'll ebb a little more that way and a little more this way. So I kind of see myself as like a right-leaning liberal or liberally conservative and conservatively liberal. I don't know how to explain it.
Libertarian.
Yeah, libertarian. Because there are things from both sides of the political spectrum that I do appreciate.
Yeah.
Like I said, being raised very conservative, so like the generation of my parents, our parents, you're talking the baby boomers. The outlook there is that you definitely have to have a side. You can't do none of this ride the middle shit.
Yeah.
So that could cause you to rebel a little bit and go the other way, but I try not to do that too. I'm like, well, wait a minute. When I'm learning all this stuff in school and government and sociology and all this different stuff, it's telling me to kind of look at everything and like, what's going to make sense in my life? What's going to make sense right here at my front door rather than,
right.
300 miles away or 3,000 miles away or whatever it is.
Right.
Not that I don't care about that, but it's like you got to kind of, what do they say, like macro and micro, right? So you have your macro, which is the whole country, and your micro, which I guess would be your street.
What's going to affect me when I wake up tomorrow and go through my day.
So sometimes it's like you're looking through that lens and you're maybe thinking a little too macro for what's right here and a little too micro for what's out there.
Sure.
And I think that affects things. So when I try to have that conversation with somebody from the baby boomer generation, man, I got shut the fuck down hard. And I'm like, but you kind of raised me to like be respectful and hear people out. And now you're telling me, like you said, the last few years, no, shut it down. This is it. Boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see too much of the situation where even if one side, and I hate that there's sides, but if one side, even if they had an idea and thought it was good and the other side got to it first, now all of a sudden it's tainted.
Yeah.
It's poison. We can't.
Yeah.
It's just because they have to be at such odds. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I think there's way more involved. Some of these conspiracies involving 9/11, involving JFK, involving Trump's assassination attempt. It's like 4D chess. It's 5D chess. It's the same party that wants things to happen could allow the other side or push things to make that side look bad to 2 or 3 or 4 moves or 10 moves down the way. They're going to be pushback. They want the pushback so they can enact what they want to do, knowing there'll be more pushback, and then they can gain a further step again.
Right. Well, like I said, if the chaos is on a side, you can
then as long as that power's moving, it doesn't rest with the people, or at least the people don't feel like it does.
If it rests in the middle, it's civil war. We don't want that. We want to be a superpower, so everybody's going to take credit for everything, what we didn't do though.
What didn't we do?
We didn't do this.
All right. I'm
going to read this off to you.
Okay.
All right. This is the Chuck Norris drop shoot. Is that what it's called? Drop. The Chuck Norris drop shot. I want to call it the drop kick. I think it's going to be more like the drop kick. All right.
There you go. All right. Chuck Norris drop shot.
Red Bull.
Okay. Red Bull.
Let me read this here. All right. So you fill a pint glass half full of Red Bull. We're kind of there. Then you do 3/4 of a shot of cherry vodka.
Okay.
So we'll do 3/4. Does that look about 3/4?
Yeah, that looks good.
Somewhere in there. No, we're not sponsored, but that's Smirnoff. If Smirnoff wants to sponsor us,
we'll
definitely take them. Then you do. It says 3/4 ounce cherry vodka, 3/4 ounce grenadine. Well, how am I going to do 3/4 of an ounce of both?
I think you can do a splash.
Yeah, and then a splash of Tabasco. So we'll just top it like that.
Now, the key is when you drop it and take a shot, don't let that shot glass come back and bust you in your mouth.
Right. your camera down here on the action.
All right.
There we go.
The action.
And we do a little
Action Jackson. Bronson.
All right, a little spice there.
Charles Bronson and Chuck Norris ever fight? Did they ever? Were they in a movie where they were?
Should we add something else to this?
Why you think it's gonna drop and break the bottom out?
No, it's just not gonna be enough, really.
I think we'll have to do because that's a lot of Red Bull and juice. All right,
here we go.
Cheers, Chuck Norris.
Hold on, let me get your camera back up. All right, hold on. All right, to the Chuck Norris.
Here we go. Chuck Norris. Hot damn.
Hiya! Woo!
All right.
Wow. Okay.
Delicious.
Sweet. Get that out of here. Yeah. You there. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm awake now.
Too sweet. I can't do that. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Red Bull, I'm not a fan.
Well, I think maybe like three more dabs of the Tabasco might offset that a little bit.
The Tabasco gave me a little kick at the end there. Definitely a Chuck Norris drop kick, not a drop shot.
Yeah, that's good. What do you got? What do you got dialed up next for conspiracies there?
Oh, so I did a little digging. So we talked about the moon stuff, and I found a guy who said this was 30 years ago. He said that there are maps of the moon and of the dark side of the moon where the structures are. He said there's structures and there's maps. And then China recently was up there with something.
And didn't they just land a probe? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they found some stuff. They're not going to share information with us. And then there was the guy on the TikTok video that I talked about that had the real nice big telescope at home. This is a big freaking telescope, and there was like lights flashing, like it was either a machine or maybe it was the like a lunar module or something up there. So like stuff's going on, and then I had a discussion with somebody the other day about the drones keep coming up, and you and I both had said before, like, it's surveillance. It's a new way to surveil your citizens. It's cheaper than an airplane. It's faster than getting in a car and driving to the scene. It gives you a better heads up of what is going on. If it's, let's say, a riot starts or a fire starts as a result of a January 6th type event, you know what I mean? I just see that as using technology to your advantage, and law enforcement doesn't have to tell us what they're doing.
Right.
And if you're testing it at night, maybe it's because there's thermal vision involved or all these other things. I went even deeper to say the weather balloons were not China. They were ours. And it's all bullshit. That they just, it's the blue, it's the, what do they call that? The blue, what was the...
Project Blue Beam?
It's the Blue Beam. It's a little, just shave a little off Blue Beam. Give everybody a little nibble. Oh, it's the enemy. Nah, it ain't the fucking enemy. You guys are testing all kinds of new shit on your own people so you can figure out what we're doing. Because you're gonna, because you want to control the money,
and yeah,
and the information.
You would think that the best, most powerful, well-equipped military would know when things are entering our space. You would hope so.
Yeah.
And if they are, and they're not ours, they pose a threat.
so like, I guess this argument can work against me too. When I said, it could be as simple as the situation before you actually happened. It's that easy to say, okay, it happened. People, like I said, people still saying about JFK, people saying about Trump, people saying about the moon landing, things like that, people saying about 9/11. Sometimes it's just, well, you're a sheep then if you just believe whatever they tell you. Well, I mean, what if that's really all it was simply what's happening is being reported.
Sure.
Okay.
It could be. That's
Is there
a possibility.
Is there other conspiratorial things that maybe led up to that? Definitely.
Did Oswald shoot Trump, JFK? Maybe not.
Well,
it's definitely a possibility.
Guys that were in the suppository, guys that took the suppository,
sure.
Guys that were in the depository that looked down at where the car was said, you sure as hell could make that shot.
He could make that shot,
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, were there other shooters? Were there other things going on?
Sure.
Don't know. But he was definitely stuck in the middle of a situation that...
he could have either actually pulled the trigger or have been set up to be in the area.
Right.
But
he
had help.
Or he got the shots off and then was just played.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else was there too and did something else too, and then say, hey, here's the guy to put away for it.
Right.
I think that happens a lot too. But
I don't think there's anything wrong with exploring all the possibilities.
No, not at all. But there's just all these different situations in politics and in the world and in our country. It's just like a history of it. After a while, you just go, somebody's fucking around, like maybe that simple act happened, but it happened because you were over here dicking with the sauce.
Yeah.
But what was I saying?
Well, we were talking about the moon and the rovers, the conspiracies.
Yeah. I was saying, like, everybody makes this big thing about UFOs and Area 51, and I'm like, if I just keep tracing things back to their inception, and we go back to, like, what was it, 1943 or something, and someone reported in a newspaper in Nevada or whatever that there was a UFO, an unidentified flying object is what the reporter called it. That was the first mention of a UFO. But then there's photos of Army guys there, and there's people that say, well, the craft said U.S. Air Force. And so, blue beam it, guys. Let them think it's this little green men, because we don't want our enemies to know we're actually testing new weaponry, right. a new jet, a new bomb, whatever it is. I mean, think about the country that you live in tested nuclear bombs on their own fucking soil.
Sure.
To see how they do against enemy with their own people in the blast zone. So if they're doing that shit, and they did that shit because they couldn't hide it, then why is it so far-fetched to think that maybe the gist of the lights and the nighttime stuff and the secret flights with what's that one airline in Nevada where the people that work in Area 51, they fly in the little airline over to the work site. The plane's got a red stripe. I can't now. It's evading me, but just take all of that before you even get into the UFO stuff and the alien stuff. It just, like, you can just dig back and go, okay, this is us doing this. Mm-hmm. And then people come up with these crazy theories and they let you run with it because they don't want to tell you what's really
If you muddy the water a little bit, then you just don't know what to believe.
That's what's happening with the drone talk and all this other stuff.
Right.
I had another one to go to, and now I'm just so, like, everything's such a rabbit hole, It leads me back to the pyramid stuff. We were talking about the pyramids. There's theories that the moon isn't actually a moon. It's a dead planet. It's a fuel source because it was volcanic. And there's proof of the volcanic. And maybe the dust on the moon is actually volcanic ash. And maybe there was a civilization on the moon. And that it was brought into our orbit to be used as a fuel source for the pyramids. And you guys kind of nailed it when you said we were talking about those perfect ported or tunneled chambers that lead into the big chambers, and there was maybe there was a chemical reaction and things like that. And then we had this the Younger Dryas period, and then we had this big calamitous event. Could have been that thing fried, that system fried. But the more I look into that, and I start reading about that and talking to you guys about that, I'm like, maybe the pyramids were like a space station. an Earth-based station that you went there and you took off in your sarcophagus that landed at the next station, and you got out and visited and all this, and they came here and visited, and when it all blew up, everybody got stuck. But then you had this event that wiped out so many species, people, animals, all this stuff. You have nowhere else to start. You come forward to modern day, and somebody found some scrolls. Well, it was this. We get the version of the Bible that we get, and they get the version of it that they get. And there's missing books, and some of it talks about celestial beings in the book of Revelation, 7-headed dragons and angels, and pretty wild sci-fi stuff.
Sure.
For being written when it was supposedly written, and you're like, wow.
What
was going on?
What do you make of the theory that we're in 2025? Well, what do you make of the theory that that's not actually the date? Like, we're missing a couple, 200, 300, 400 years.
We could be like in 2950
or
4550 or
whatever it is. We can be in.
Why would there be a number just based on the events of when Christ died to say it's 2025?
Right.
Well, what was the calendar saying before that? Why was that the restart?
Or what's the bigger purpose for hiding a section of history? Like, somebody or a small group of people had to decide if that was the thing. Like, nope, it's no longer 1345, it is 1845 now or whatever, and then we're going to go from there. Or whenever that took place, the missing history.
Yeah.
But
it's easier it's things like that are so meta, and I don't mean Facebook. I mean like the mega, like the macro. That's so macro. It's so big that when you can just knock it down to some simple thing. Well, that's when Jesus died. Mm-hmm. That's where we start. Oh, okay. I believe in him. Okay, I believe that. Yeah, let's start there. But then you tell me that carbon dated, there was a bone that's 1 billion years old.
Right.
Well, then what year is it then?
Well, there's different religions have different calendars, different dates.
But like the whole world agrees that it's 2025. And we all know that it's not really 2025.
Correct.
It's just the way we develop calendars and stuff like that.
Right.
That's a wild one right there, man.
So the people in power at some point got to decide this is, the Gregorian calendar or whatever we're using. This is it. And either you're on board or you're not. You can call it year 900, but the rest of us are going to say it's 2025. So if you want to do anything in the real world, banking or whatever, that's the date you use.
In a strange time in history when scholars and people that made big decisions agreed, because we can't even agree on the whole thing about daylight savings time in this country, And then you got the kingdoms became the politicians, and it all probably happened with advancements in travel, advancements in getting information out, because it went from a person speaking to a crowd of people to a stone tablet to a piece of papyrus to a printing press to a telegram, Morse code to radios to now the dead internet's not so dead when you and I can talk to somebody like we did our episode before with John. He's in Florida. We're here. We're having a conversation using the internet, using the megaphone, to. I don't know that we have a message. We're just talking about all these things. They're not everyday things. They're not everyday things.
And not even just our opinions. It's multiple opinions about just.
Well, when you say, like, I feel like everything's a rabbit hole to an extent, to the point where you just sometimes can see something happen in front of you and go, no, that's not what happened. Yeah. That's not true. and you get jaded like that, and then somebody says, well, you're stupid, you're a sheep, and at some point that's going to be your downfall. Well, I don't know when my downfall is going to be, and it's not. I hope it's not because of something I think that I believe. I hope that I'm just old and it's time to go, But
well, there's something to be said for opening your mind for all the possibilities, but at some point, you kind of lean one way or another, definitely. Or have your strong suspicions that it really happened this way. Definitely. And sometimes it's concrete. You cannot convince me otherwise that it did not happen this way. But to shut yourself off from those other possibilities,
I would love to, and I might even do it right now. Let's see if I can look this up real fast.
On the dead internet?
Yeah.
You're just going to get an echo chamber or what you already want to know.
All right.
Moon structures. Okay. Yeah, I'm very curious about that. It's always fascinated me.
I just think like life is so multi-layered with so many things that to get caught up just in one aspect of it is where you lose valuable time in your life, dedicating like your energy to just arguing your side of an argument, whether it's left or right in our country or what it is, whatever it is. Like, I think I said it earlier. I don't know if we recorded it, but it's like if you were a Trump supporter and he won, and you're like you said, it just needs to be a conversation people need to have. Mm-hmm. Like curiosity could also be, well, why do you support him? What is it? What are the key pieces that you like? You're conservative, and this guy's the arbiter of your side in this. What are the key things that you'd like to see? So like I say, if I'm a Biden supporter or a Kamala Harris supporter and she loses, it's not, oh my God, end of the world. No, it's like, okay, this dude won. I respect that office. I respect that position. I'm already in the greatest nation, in my opinion. So I need a leader that's gonna like do some shit, do the job. So like I said,
you got the job, now do it.
Like I said, you got the keys, you got the job. Now just get to work, because it can't be easy for anybody, no matter what side. And you end up in that situation where both sides have to agree on stuff. No matter who's got control of the houses and all that, there still has to be sometimes almost unilateral support on things. Otherwise, it's just never going to happen, and it gets mired in people's bullshit. So that's one part of our life, and then it just peels into the micro focus of what's going on around you. And sometimes you see odd shit that you can't explain. You can't just write off. Like, you see an article about this stuff on the moon, and you see a video of a guy doing a speech in a college, like a TED Talk thing, way before TED Talks in the early mid 90s, and he's saying that there were built structures on the moon, and it's been mapped out, but you can't know about it because of this. So then the blue beam shavings fall off the table to say,
convince people they're crazy.
They weren't even on the moon. And this dude's going, no, they were on the moon, and this is what they found. And if they told you, this would be crazy. How, you know what I mean? Like everybody would be so focused on that,
right,
that all of this other stuff wouldn't have the power that it has over everybody in business and finance and all this other stuff. So
that just give me a good analogy here. So you've got the cart going through, I'm thinking medieval days, right? This big cart full of food going through, and the peasants are starving, and you just kick off just some scraps, just throw them in, knock them off. And everybody's so crazy going over those scraps, they forget about this whole big wagon full of food. Right. It's the knowledge that if the government knows about structures, put the structures there, maybe, I mean, when would that have happened? How could they have built them? But if they found them, ancient structures, right? muddy the waters with all these kinds of conspiracies. You got people arguing. They can't even get close to the truth because they're busy arguing about all this other stuff.
And you have to figure, too, if that was, 1966 or 68? It was 66, correct? I think it was
69, they went to the moon.
69,
yeah.
Okay. But they were playing around in space as early as 63. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
they started sending things up.
But I think at that time in history, every piece of information about anything came down to muddy it as much as you can so the enemy doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
Because you can't just go up there and plant your flag and say it's ours.
So do you think if there are structures there, do you think they were put there in our lifetime, or you know what I mean, in recent history, or are they ancient structures that have been discovered? You know, were they put up there 1,000 years ago, or 10,000, or 50,000?
I think it goes back to that. I think John had a really good theory about the Younger Dryas period, and I think you had said something about it too, where there was civilization was as advanced as it could be, even as advanced as it is today. Maybe the tools weren't there to do some of the things that we have with the technology that we have, but maybe they were able to achieve some of these things with their tools of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it all got lost after this great thing. So I don't know. Like, I think, what did you say? It was like 13,000 years ago?
12,600 years or so.
So I definitely would say it would be before that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it all, when I talk about the moon, I'm going to eventually talk about pyramids because I am so stuck on that theory. And now you've got one of the most genius people in history, in our history anyway, who happens to be the richest man in the world, really pushing to go to Mars, to put people on Mars, to do work on Mars. What do you know? I want to know what he knows to make that such a goal. Mm-hmm. Why does that matter? Because I think it all ties back into there was a way to travel, and it all got so something happened that just destroyed everything. And maybe there were some lucky ones here that were able to repopulate, and it wiped out everything else. And it could have been purposefully done. It could have had an agenda that planned it, schemed it, made it happen. It could have been natural. I wish there was a way to get in a time buggy and go back and see if any of that's true, because I think I'm just so stuck now, because you guys, it really made me think that there's just too much unexplained with the way the pyramids were constructed. There's just too much. And then I heard someone else in more views of videos and people talking, someone said that coating that was on the pyramid, that at one time it could have even been metallic, and that the top could have even been gold or something conductive.
Right.
And even helped a beam shoot out that would be a way to fuel something or travel. And then we have this thing with humanity where I feel like we have each other's dreams sometimes, or pieces of our dreams are the same because of this just humanity. And so beam me up, Scotty. Light, speed of light, travel with light speed, light cannon, quote unquote, phasers, quasars. What's the thing they're doing now with the spinning experiment?
The Halon
thing. Yep. And then Japan or China, I think China just set a record for the hottest reaction, like hundreds of times more powerful than the sun.
Wow.
Because if they can harness that without melting the structure somehow, which, okay, explain that one, right?
Right.
You're gonna have this stay on and not melt whatever is around it somehow because of the process. As long as it's moving, it won't, or something. So that's going to create energy, like limitless energy, right? So now you've got this new kind of reactor. That's what I'm telling you is what was going on with the pyramids. And so humans are figuring these things out in other ways. do these other colliders and other experiments and
So
things.
Something that's
Fission,
always
I think, is
puzzled me is if, let's just go down the road of alien intervention, providing technology, knowledge, in order to teach people that were here how to build structures like that, like the pyramid. I always thought, well, why were they building with such primitive things if they were so advanced?
Yeah.
But they're still here, right? Those rocks, those stones, they've lasted the test of time. If you made something out of metal or whatever, now that we're using, technology, in 500 years, 1,000 years, wouldn't it be rusted, gone,
right. The molecular structure of those things are what was the technological advancement, because they knew how to get the frequencies to work together of the different elements
of those types of stones.
And so you could literally have two rocks, a white rock and a black rock, and if you spun them a certain way, they would do something magnetic or push something. That's what I think was going on in the days when this stuff was being constructed. And then more so than just an alien, because it's such an advanced thought to say, well, I can't sort it out, so maybe someone gave us this knowledge.
Right.
But the big what if, I love the what if because it's all a big what if. What if we did figure all that out? This advanced group of people. I refer back to John because there's stuff he said that I remembered. Like he said, think of it this way: like if you had 5 guys running a nuclear reactor and 5 guys 150 miles away farming. Tell me how much of each one's field the other ones would understand how to continue with, right? So like the nuclear physicist isn't going to really understand farming to survive, but the farmer isn't going to know shit about the nuclear physicist stuff, so that makes sense. And maybe you had this group of this brain trust that wasn't necessarily the Egyptians or the pharaohs or anything, it was before them. And they figured it out. And when they said, like I said, it could have started rubbing 2 stones together. And they said, wait a minute, we can do this on a bigger scale. Right. If we go, let's go down the road here where this granite is and try it. Boom, they're floating them with this technology they made, this little skiff thing, across the sand. Maybe the sand was the elixir they needed to flip this stone a certain way or mix it like cement. And it made this puck or piece. And it was, when you flipped it over, it was like the hoverboard and the Marty McFly Back to the Future.
Same way magnets,
exactly.
North
and
and
they
south
figured that out,
repel.
and they just they needed 50 guys on each big stone, and they just pushed it on down the road. And it was probably a slow process, but it worked. And then they keep doing it, and then they say, wait, we want to go further. How can we launch this bad boy? Well, we precariously put this stone here and we have this tank. It's like a giant fuel tank, and we do this. We drop the stuff in. It'll launch us. And then we're making rockets. Now we launch well, we need a place to stop before we get to where we want to go. We need a fuel source when we're out there to continue to kind of, it's like a volley. Like you get so far, and right as you lose it, something pushes you again. Propulsion, right? Okay, there's the moon. Volcanic activity on the moon. Set up a station there.
Maybe draws you in versus repel you.
Let's get there first. We build our structure. We do our setup there, and then we just keep going. Boom, boom, jumping from one to the next. We get over to Saturn. We do something on Saturn. We get over to Mars. We do something on Mars. Bang, bang, bang. They're all in a row. They keep doing it, and then the calamity could be that it set off a chain reaction that just blew it all to hell, and they're uninhabitable. Now it's acidic in the air. One's too hot. One's too rough. The moon's ruined. I pulled up what was found on the dark side of the moon. A Chinese space exploration robot was sent to the dark side of the moon and found evidence that the surface was once peppered with active volcanoes.
Right. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around how a civilization could have be what we consider primitive back then.
Yeah.
You know, in
we've always been told that
Egyptian times, the pyramid times,
the fish flopped out of the water, grew arms and legs, and then became this, and then became that, and then became an ape, and then became a man, and then the man was dumb.
Right.
And then the man knew how to bang rocks together and make sparks. If that was the chain of events, what if there was something before that? Or what if there was something during that was like way more advanced than we could imagine?
Well, if there has been resets, and I'm sure there most definitely have been for meteorite impacts or huge volcanic activity.
There's an element of it you can't control.
That would reset human civilization back to the point where you are only concerned about staying alive and finding food, and your dark ages again. You're just trying to survive. You don't have time to worry about how to figure out physics or chemistry or anything.
Right.
And if that happens for 50,000 years, you might get to the point where you can send things to the moon. It's tough to think that can coincide with the primitive idea, but look at the world today. There's people that are building spaceships and or rockets, right? Yep. And at the exact same time, there's people that are living in the jungle,
right?
That all they're doing is trying to survive. They're out hunting, gathering, and they have no concept, no idea what a radio is, what a TV is, or anything. And that coexists at the exact same time in our Earth right now.
And there's also people that are not necessarily educated, doing amazing things, just figuring them out naturally. We saw the one guy who could turn the massive amounts of weight and things like that. We'll go one further to the guy that built the castle in Florida, the Coral Castle. What everybody says, oh, well, he was singing to the rocks and he was doing these things with sound and vibration. It's like, well, it's a little more advanced than that, though. That guy wrote a book on engineering. He was a masterful engineer, but he only had primitive tools, and he was able to make things that basically created a direct current battery-powered grid around his property that he was able to make little motors and things for tools. So he had like a big door. They say, well, what's this metal door? Well, it was actually a blade that if you just lifted it up with these arms on a gear, and it just lifted it slightly enough to move and banged on this soft stone and slid across it. It's like when you take a razor and you etch, or for glass, you etch it, and then you can snap it, and it's perfect, right? He was doing this on a greater scale. This thing would come down, bang, scratch across, bang, scratch across, and he'd lay it out, scratch across, do it again, move it over, do it again. Eventually, it would crack. Well, how does he move it now? Well, he was an engineer. He figured out a way to build these tripods, and at different angles would give you different maximum weights. So it could start here, and as it lifted, he would scoot them in, and use a chain fall and lift massive amounts of weight. This is a totally different process than what I think would have happened with pyramids, because these are a lot smaller. They're heavy, 9,000 pounds, some of them, but it's not unthinkable. If you've worked with any kind of rigging, so the guy worked in a lumber rigging, he worked at a masonry business, and he was a brilliant engineer, but he was just a basic guy. So you have people like that who can do amazing things so fast that people said, oh, well, he did that at night, overnight. It was like, no, it wasn't overnight. It was hot-ass Florida. He worked at night. And when he made, people said, we saw strange lights. That's because he used little headlights from cars. He was using junk. And the light looks funky. They were like yellowy looking weird lights, and then you're hearing music. Well, there was a clank. There was a rhythm to the current. When the current would click on these things, it would make a rhythm. So when the thing would hit on a rhythm, he would sing to the rhythm, like people would sing any blues songs or something. It's a basic beat, and they could just sing stuff to it. So he'd be out there just singing while he was working. It was his life's work. He was making these experiments, figuring them out, and engineering, And then he wrote a book, and
so aliens didn't help him.
Nope.
Okay.
So somebody took the book, made every device that he made exactly how he made it with the most primitive stuff, and then showed you exactly how each step was done. And I mean, it blew me away that somebody took the time to do that. But that's another brilliant mind that was tapping into it. Again, not necessarily educated in the formal sense, but complete genius in how he performed these things, you know. So I think there was like a brain trust of people in these ancient times that not everybody, I can't tap into that type of thing. Like you're gonna throw a couple magnets and some metal and a couple broomsticks in front of me. I don't know what to do with that stuff. Maybe I can make something basic like a weapon or, you know, something to help me get something. And this guy comes in and goes, here, put it right here. If I have the opposing magnets to it, it'll spin. Now we can generate a little bit of power.
Right.
And there you go. Now we got juice going to something.
Yeah, we're off and running.
This guy could be like, the world could go black, and this guy could be like, I got this. Hold my beer. Matter of fact, I'll show you how to make beer when I get this going. You know?
Exactly.
So then how does that guy, you know, pass that on? Maybe he wasn't well-versed in ways to do that. But this particular guy that I'm talking about wrote books. He wrote 3 or 4 books. And one book happened to be on engineering specific to the exact way that he was able to cut these huge rocks.
For the coral castle.
Yeah. So then we talked about, you know, like the, what was it? The island, Easter Island, you know, with the giant statues and how they moved. And a guy was like, here's how they did it. They put rope around it and shook it back and forth, and the thing walked down the road. It's like, dang. And they were able to move it every hour. They said, what was it? Every 8 hours they could move these things like 3 miles or something. Something crazy like that. But it's like basic engineering, and it's not so hard to see.
It's possible that
the possibilities.
That it's not a far-fetched idea that
I
it has
know.
to be alien intervention all the time.
I know, and I know that somebody listening to me is going, this dude doesn't know what the hell he's saying.
Of course.
When I talk about an ancient civilization that wanted to travel to the moon and built a way to do it with the pyramid, and it was propulsion. And then I'm just piecing together things from our conversations, and it's like,
well, even if that's not
chemical reaction,
even
and
if
then
that's
boom.
not correct, there could be parts of their elements that have ring true.
It's
you know,
just,
maybe there didn't launch a rocket, but maybe it made power.
There's just so much wonder around us that, you know, where we started in the conversation tonight. If you just stayed in that wheelhouse, you're really doing yourself a disservice, because there's so much more going on around you.
Right.
That the power of the human mind, I say it all the time.
It's fun to think those things.
You can think things through, and you can break through that. So like if you say, I got a tinfoil hat on and I'm crazy, but if I'm rational, I can break through that wall of irrationality and devise a device or way to prove it out, and then show you, here's proof. And even when people do that, sometimes there's people that won't believe it. And it's like, I thought it was really neat to discover the video of the guy proving out those things from Coral Castle, because I didn't know what Coral Castle was until somebody said, you guys should cover Coral Castle. And this person didn't know all of that stuff that I found. They just had heard all the stories, and they were like, dig into it. So then I did. And I'm like, damn, this guy disproved it. It's not some big ancient alien lizard
He didn't
person.
Tap into some ancient knowledge or something. Yeah.
So it's like, maybe we were coming up with devising ways to do great feats without alien intervention.
Oh yeah.
But maybe at some point in history that contact was made, and maybe there was exchanges of knowledge. And then at some point, you know, we went from these hierarchies where you just have bloodline kings to elections. We're just going to pick one instead of letting this just be this way. Okay, it's the blood. You were born this way, and there's the peasants down here. No, we're gonna rise up. We're gonna pick.
We're still gonna be in power, but we're gonna let you think you're picking us.
Exactly.
Which one of us do you want?
Exactly.
So what purpose do you think, if there's pyramid structures, some outpost on the moon. What reason do you think it would be if the U.S. found out about it? I can see them not wanting to tell other countries, but if you got China, maybe Russia, other countries possibly exploring up there, they would all have to kind of know that knowledge and keeping it from the people. So
they would find it at some point.
What do you think the purpose is of hiding that knowledge? I can see if it was weapons or something from one country not wanting other countries to know about technology.
If it's something as simple as just finding a structure,
it ruins the religious sort of thing.
Maybe, but it's like, I feel like you could tell people, but then you'd have so many people wanting to go explore it or wanting reasons why, or it takes away from. It becomes the real piece of the blue beam, and it takes every bit of attention away from all the other things you're trying to do elsewhere. So it could be a power play for political reasons, military reasons,
religion,
huge.
If there was an actual confirmed there are ancient structures on the moon, that would really blow away a lot of religious beliefs.
Yeah. The theory that the moon was so here's the thing too. So if the moon, we call it the moon, like you wonder where these words all come from sometimes. People just give things names,
Why is it orange and orange?
They found volcanoes evidence that the surface was once peppered with active volcanoes, it says.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That to me tells me that the moon, I feel like the moon's a dead planet because of the volcanoes, and that's what the moon dust is. It's the ash from the volcanoes. It's kind of like, here's what you got to look forward to, guys. But why is it right there? Well, maybe it was just right there. Like the what if. What if it was a planet that was just happened to be that close, There's people that think the sun is 50,000 miles away. I don't see how, but there's people that think that. But the moon's where it is, and it orbits us, and then it's like Then I sit there and I hear there's the talk. So there was the stuff about the galaxy is increasing in size at a very rapid rate, more than we thought, because we can continue to do research. Deep space probes, things are getting better, and like some of this stuff can be problematic, but then I'm still wanting to know, well, why do I keep seeing this Perseid meteor shower every so often? Why? How is it that thing keeps coming back around? What's going on here? Like, why is this on repeat every so many years? And then these eclipses and all this stuff's like, shouldn't things just kind of move on?
Right.
So there's an element there where there's nature, and then there's mankind, and mistakes were made. I just think that's the calamities, that it was because mistakes were made. And like, even if you don't believe that the Earth is millions of years old or billions of years old, let's just say that it is. What if the meteor shower that supposedly wiped out the dinosaurs was because somebody screwed up somewhere else, and it went and got caught in this spin around the planet and accidentally came back and hit? I mean, What if? You're just going to tell me rocks just hurling around in space and no rhyme or reason, but yet meteors continue to come back through every 70 years or whatever it is?
What if just one of those meteors that hit the Earth and did a great reset, what if it wasn't just a rock? What if it was a weapon from somewhere else?
They just catapulted it. another set of pyramids somewhere.
Maybe not accidental. Maybe it was a launch to
and then it was a
wipe out the people that were here.
And the ones that were here were like,
survived.
Okay, we give up. Or
some survived.
Some survived, and they were thought to all be gone because then it's supposedly that the Earth would have been clouded over and froze into this ice age and all this stuff before it cleared up. So you're like, well, that planet's dead. We don't need it. Let's move on. Mm-hmm. We took out Earth. We took out the moon. We just traveled on.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Just saying, what if?
Because there's this.
What if it wasn't all natural?
That's what
calamities?
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Then there's this thing where it's like, well, we're so advanced and we go off the planet and do all this stuff. Well, what's to say someone else isn't out there?
Yeah.
And they're doing it too. And I'm saying, well, what if at this point in time when this technology happened that you could travel around the galaxy or just our solar system, I'll just say, and when that got destroyed, so did everybody else, and there was just a few left and repopulated, and here we are. I don't know.
Well, we have sent stuff to the moon, to Mars at least, and I'm sure other planets, probes of some sort. So if at some point down the line, another colony of people, another planet of people send probes out, they could find stuff on those planets and go, what the heck is this? Where'd this come from? How'd this get here? Maybe the stuff on the moon came from other people and not our former intelligent life.
So that made me think, what do we gain from Mars research? And the AI answer is
yes.
Mars research provides scientific insights into the planet's history, the potential for life beyond Earth, and how to prepare for human exploration. It also leads to the development of new technologies that benefit everyone. Well, so you say, dead internet. That one if you want it.
Oh, that's all right. I got one.
I got plenty more. Ooh.
So, why would the government not be honest with us about anything?
There's proof. There is proof at several points in time where they haven't been.
Sure.
But I also think a lot of people put that on them when it's like tough to get an answer to something. It's easy to blame. It becomes that whole thing where if the chaos is on the other side, it's easy to throw the blame and not have it in the middle. not have to look inward when you can cast it out, right?
Well,
but that's just the philosophical answer. I would think a government would lie to its own people to protect something they thought was a matter of security.
National security. Yeah.
When, like, again, go back to the UFO thing. There's parts of me that just think rationally and say, okay, an Air Force experimental aircraft crash. Nobody knew what the hell it was. So they hurried up and got in there and damage control. And a newspaper article got out saying it was some wild-ass theory. And they went, hey, whoa, wait a minute. That's actually a good idea. Let's keep that going. We don't ever have to own up to it. Then there's another part of me that says, I've seen some wild shit, though, that can't be of this earth. Or was it? So.
Do you think, though, if, let's say, the U.S. or other countries possess the type of technology that they're claiming to be maybe out of this world technology, things that can just move in crazy ways, and some of them quite large, and like one that comes to mind was the Tucson lights. They described this thing was like several football fields large. Like, it was huge. It wasn't some little thing that can just fly around like a little tiny drone. It was huge. But if the U.S. or another country possessed that, why would they still be building just your average aircraft. You know what I mean? Like an F-35 and whatever.
Advanced,
it's
could just get you across the country in 15, 20 minutes instead of...
Because they know the limits and the liabilities of all those aircrafts.
Mm-hmm.
They still pumping those out when they have all this technology that could just change it in an instant. I mean, I can see why they're developing it, while they're working on it. But if they had technology supposedly in 47 of a spacecraft that was so advanced back then, and now we are 80 years later, and they're still chugging along with all these prototype aircrafts. Doesn't make sense.
With your Black Ops and your Skunk Works and all these different things, it all comes down to you just want to get to it first before the enemy figures it out.
Sure.
The atomic bombs, we were using Germans, we were using Japanese people to make all these different scientists and stuff. We're all working with guys that we had hired to make a bigger bomb.
Well,
I mean, it just comes down to like whoever controls the information. Mm-hmm. And then if I can keep you in the dark or keep you like maybe you figure out a piece of it, but I keep you in the dark about the other piece that you need to have it make sense. Whoever holds that secret, I don't know why that's a part of everything. Like what you're saying, if it could help mankind better, but then again, well, we don't want to do that because then somebody can get here faster.
No, but what I'm getting at is, let's say if there was a spacecraft that had the technology to move in weird ways back in, say, the 50s or 60s, right? And why did the military go through the development phase of the, F-16, the F-18, the F whatever, all these steps along the way, when if they had the technology back then, why wouldn't they just jump to the F-35 type of technology?
Back in 1970 or something.
Right. Yeah. Why is it now? Why is these?
Because maybe a big chunk of all of that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep saying it's the blue beam. Let them have them have their theories.
What is your gut instinct saying? Does the U.S. military have possession of technology, a craft, biological matter, or whatever from outside of this earth? Do you think that we have been visited and they have captured an actual alien aircraft?
Before I would answer that, I would say there's no reason to believe that it's just us, because Earth is a big place.
Right. Could be other countries as well.
I'm telling you, I just take it all back to the pyramids. It's like having your first interstellar airport and then having this great calamity fuck it all up, and you can't have them all over the place. And I do think some of it is a result of that. It's like people trying to find their people trying to explore the galaxy. Alien. An alien to me could be us in form from somewhere else. But yeah, I totally think Earth has been visited or inhabited, or possibly we are the aliens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I'm going to go with that other than to say we are not built for this planet, man. Think about it, like the microbes and the germs that take us out. We don't have a hard crustaceous shell on the outside. We're soft on the outside. The temperatures can kill us. No food can kill us. The hydration can kill us. Allergies can kill us. The atmosphere can kill us. Like, we might be the aliens. Maybe we were dropped off after one of those flights and we repopulated after a dryas event or calamity after the dryas period, whatever. And we're kind of like a mixed species, and it's like,
okay, so
we're not home.
the more succinct question is whether technology, information, people life came from Earth and then came back or whatever, outside of the Earth, do you think there's anything else? Or do you think that any technology that has been developed on Earth is a result of people? It just has, through years, 10,000, 20, 30, it developed, and then it went back to people can only worry about surviving before they can worry about building nuclear reactors.
We know that's happened several times.
Right. But do you think there's anything outside of Earth that you can consider life or technology?
I think I fall into that category of there has to be.
Earth is, or space is so big.
Yeah. That we can't just be a happy accident.
Mm-hmm.
That the universe is so vast that
depends
they're
on
not
who you
just
ask.
going to be right down the street.
Depends on who you ask.
Exactly. They aren't just going to be down the street. It's going to be so far away, and that keeps going back to my theory or my thoughts where it was propulsion.
Mm-hmm.
The pyramid pushed you to the first stop, reset, pushed you to the next, pushed you to the next, pushed you to the next. Maybe that was developed somewhere else and given or shared or something or developed somehow. And at some point it got ruined.
I wonder if propulsion and a fuel source is really the most economical way to get through space, or is it more leaning towards this time warp wormhole bending of space and time, and you can just jump from one to the other versus going at the speed of light?
I think that for the wormhole theory to play into things, speed has to play into things. Like, you can't just have a wormhole open and you slip through. Like, if your matter is moving at a certain speed, you can become sort of like vibration again. Like there's like maybe some kind of sonic chamber or whatever. Like your cells could actually like separate
and penetrate through
this wormhole, and then figure out a way to traverse that. I don't know beyond that.
And then be able to come back together
I think
in the exact right place.
I think that speed and propulsion play a part of that, and elements play a part of that, and frequency plays a part of that. And if you have that stuff dialed in, that you could come back together. You could get beamed up somewhere. But I also think that when people talk about the Greys and the little green men and stuff, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think that's actually us, that we were figuring some of those things out. Maybe it was done before our time, but when we figured it out, some guys hit the pedal and went too far, and when they looped back around, they couldn't communicate with us anymore because their physical form couldn't get back together correct. They were stretched out, bone density, different things. They're trying to communicate. This whole thing about abductions and probing.
Somebody just wants their butthole tickled.
I'm neither here nor there on that. I wasn't there, I can't say. But trying to contact, I could definitely get in line with. Because they got to tell someone, we fucked up.
Yeah.
Don't press the button. Don't do this in 2030. Don't do it. Mm-hmm. Do it this way. Press A instead of B. Don't do it. Right. And they can't get the message across. So here we are thinking it's ancient technology that we're trying to deconstruct and use, when it's actually our own. It's just changed its form, come back around, because again, remember when I said about the Perseid meteor showers and things keep coming back through? Maybe it's passing through some sort of
Planet X.
Maybe it's passing through some sort of wormhole.
Yeah.
Maybe that's as big as it is, and it's just looping back around. It's like a tape. And then the little green men are actually us going, we can't even talk anymore. We're not advanced. We're just all fucked up. We can't get back together.
Or what if there was an Elon Musk type person 20,000 years ago and realized that there is a comet or a meteor that's on pace in like 200 years, it's going to hit us. We need to find a way off this planet. And a bunch of them escaped, but everybody else on Earth bang, and then they come back, and man, there's so many fun ones, right?
There's a lot. I think there's things on repeat that you get so many chances to try and fix, and that was one that I had thought about a long time ago. Was like we're trying to make this technology go faster and faster. Always propulsion's always a part of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And speed of light doesn't necessarily mean that you can't physically do it. It's just you have to find the proper situation to be in for you to survive. And then again, like I made the joke, like maybe we're the aliens because a cockroach don't have a problem with any of this, but we sure as hell do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, can't get too cold. Can't
so
get
you
too
think
hot.
you think there might be the perfect planet out there? We're just not on it,
And it might have been ours. And there's not as many, or there's still someone there. It's just this wormhole.
Ones with no disease or bacteria that could kill us, and the perfect temperature.
Just not in the way that it is here. Just different.
Well, why would we have developed on Earth the way that we did if we're not from like we're not made for this planet? We must have been perfect for some other place.
And our species can adapt somewhat. Because you still have people born with defects where they can't even have sunlight on them. They have issues with breathing. They have issues with water.
You would think that we would have developed a hard outer shell by now.
Yes. I always say I have a crunchy outside with a gooey inner core. But I don't know, man. You can really go down a rabbit hole with all that. And it's all its own thing. But like, the what if of it is, what if it all is from this one story? Like somebody pressed the wrong button at some point, screwed it up here. We had to start over. Somebody pressed the wrong button here, screwed it up. We had to start over.
Yep.
And then it's like the few that survived were able to continue the just life, the advancement, the moving forward, moving on. And you lose a little bit every time.
You would think that if they knew that, couldn't they just come down and write that in big, bold letters on the side of a mountain? Don't push the button. Why all the sneakiness? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe nobody has it figured out.
Yeah.
Maybe we're the only ones.
One more thing about the wormhole, the sort of bending of space and time. Mm-hmm. Right, I've seen the diagram or the illustration, I should say, of kind of the 3D map of what is time and space, right? And then they're showing a heavy object kind of in the center, and it's making this big belly and supposedly bringing these two things that are really far away. You're bending it and bringing them closer.
Yeah.
What happens to all the other stuff that's in that space?
Right.
Like, let's say that happened in our solar system. Like, we could do that to get from Venus to Pluto. Just like that, you would have to bend it.
And
so do all those other planets and matter move and then
get out of the way?
Yeah.
What if that's the big secret? Like, it's as big as it is. If it's just flat Earth for a second, if it's just a big flat pizza, that's a rectangle. And like you said, you drop the weight in the middle, and it all comes together, and you can just kind of just hop right across to it, right? Yeah, I mean, what if like we just lost the ability to kind of do that? There was a way to traverse that, and I think it's propulsion and speed. You have to get moving at a certain rate for you to do that, and nothing else does that but you somehow.
Yeah,
you know,
because at our current technology, right? If you're going to fly something to Mars or even beyond that, you get to a point where the weight and the volume of fuel you need becomes you're bringing fuel to transport the fuel that you need to propel yourself, right?
Yep.
There's only so fast you can go
the whole issue
with our current current technology. So there has to be some either, the magnetic propulsion, negative reaction,
and look at
or electromagnetic, or some sort of wormhole where you can jump here to there.
And you have to get to 88 miles an hour before you can jump through the wormhole. That's my thing. Like,
there you go.
We share these dreams because it's like through humanity, the power of the mind, the hive mind, all this. And like I said before, like I think it's over in China, they have this reactor that's making something burn 127 times brighter than the sun. What if you could get
just for that millisecond?
What if you could put that in a box and stick it in a ship and propulsion off of that? You'd never need to refuel for 3,000 years.
Right.
And you could have 5 backups sitting in the cargo hold. You can go wherever you want, but then the human body can only last so long. So now you have to have sort of like
cryogenics or
generational. You'd have to have like incubators and have babies, test tube babies, women, men. You'd have to have like, okay, listen, 3 generations from now we're gonna land. We need you guys to be educated and formed up. So it's going to be a long trip. We're going to teach you everything. Here's all the files and everything you need.
Taking a big risk
Research.
that the people that are going to be born are willing to do that and not
rebel.
rebel.
There was that movie already. They made a movie like that. But like I couldn't see unless you could manipulate the wormholes faster.
Yeah.
How else could it be done? Because time here versus time to get to Mars is what, 7 years or something like that?
I think it's quicker than that now, but it's 2 years.
It's a couple years.
2 years.
So you have to give up a couple years there and back.
Mm-hmm.
You're only going to be able to do that so many times. Then it's got to pass the baton. Somebody's got to go. If you could figure out the wormhole situation, though, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Get the thing fired up, punch in the right key, fire up your little your sun box, click it in. Boom, you're there. Get out.
Yeah.
And I'm saying they were already doing that with the pyramids, and somebody clicked it into place and accidentally spun it to the left instead of the right and blew it. Then we start over. Then we have our version.
Yeah.
The guys were trying to speed up to get to the wormhole to get this going. They went by it. They come back through. Now they're physical form,
because time is different,
but the physical form got completely warped and changed because of the pull on the body, the G's, and they're trying to come back and say, don't do it. They crash here because this is where they're from. This is where they're trying to get back to. They crash here. You do an alien autopsy, it doesn't get you anywhere. Like, well, it's got a brain. It's got genitalia, but it fell off. I'm just saying.
They lost their cock and balls.
I'm just saying. It dried up and fell off.
Yeah. Because we're going too fast.
They're going too fast. Lost his balls. Balls in space. Space balls. And, it's silly, but I think there's something there where that's why when I said the thing, well, it couldn't possibly just be in America.
Yeah.
It's got to be other places. Right. But in this situation, what if it was our guys just trying to come back to where they're from to tell us, do not press go, just wait. You got to manipulate this one thing, an element, a vibration, a frequency. Something's off by a degree that is keeping us away from unlocking these secrets that you're talking about. And there's people that have gained knowledge through the centuries, and there's probably a place in world governments, specifically with ours, that is a tablet, probably, that they don't want anybody to see, because if you decipher it, it's going to say the craziest shit that unlocks something that if you knew how to do it, you'd question everything, and it would just upset the balance of the way tradition plays into belief, plays into politics, plays into business. It would just upset the apple cart completely. Yeah. And I mean, some of us could say, well, I'm ready for that. Go ahead. Show me what you got. And it might still be so mind-blowing that you couldn't handle it.
Yeah. Well, if they are trying to communicate with us, they're being awful shy about it. That's all I've got to say. If they're trying to warn us against something, they're taking their fucking damn time.
Yeah. It's us. We're the little green men.
Okay.
We're the little green men. I actually had the dream about the Stones a long time ago. Not the Rolling Stones, but the black and the white Stones.
Yeah.
Might have been something I read in a book or something. But then magnetism, the opposites, the methods to carve stone and then move it. You know, because we were talking about, well, how the hell would they move this stuff? I'm like, if they had these floating stones and you have the opposites pushing against each other, right up one of those giant ass ramps.
Do you think there's anything like that that exists in nature now, though, other than magnets, obviously? But do you think there's natural materials that propel
comes from
each other?
That stuff comes from nature.
Yeah, of course.
It's not man-made. I mean, but I think in nature there's probably somewhere where something there's a magnetite. Stone.
We
see the line in the water when the river meets the ocean. Sure. There's phenomenon like that. Like that's a crazy phenomenon to see the different waters. And you like pour 2 cups of water into like a big like even a cookie sheet, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do anything. They pour right in. Big deal. They intermingle.
Right. Salt water and fresh water, pouring it in.
But a river and an ocean meet, and it's this crazy phenomenon.
Different colors, a line right through there.
It's a totally different phenomenon. Yeah. So I think there's stuff like that in nature for sure.
Or the underwater lake. You seen that?
Or
a waterfall that is underwater. Have you seen that?
Or the water being under the ground, even underground rivers.
Sure.
When they dig wells, some countries do the aquifer style where it's like a 30-inch bore, and it digs in, takes a scoop, digs in, takes a scoop, and then when they see water start, they put in something else for the well, and they drop that down there, and the next thing you know, it's gushing. It's like. What
pressure,
the hell?
water pressure, yeah.
What the hell? It's like oil or something, you know. It's just so many things to comprehend, and then get your head around the fact that there's lava under the core, under the crust of the earth. You know, it's like blowing. Just the simplest thing blows your mind about. Just take them one at a time. Lava, for instance, and the magma and the plates of the earth still moving and all this stuff. It's like. That's so wild. And then there's countries that have harnessed the heat, geothermal heat and stuff, you know. Yeah, there's so much around us, and that's what I was trying to say earlier. There's so much like that going on around us with nature besides technology, just natural things occurring. When you talk about like things repelling, like was it Yellowstone, like it's acid, there's like natural acid, acidic sulfur and things in the groundwater or whatever, that when the geyser blows, like there's certain areas that will literally melt the skin off your bones.
Yeah.
And they tell you don't go into these places, and fucking people walk right in there and fall in this shit, and they're completely dissolved, and you don't even know they're gone. You know, it's like every year somebody does it. Every year. And that's in a way repelling. That's a natural phenomenon. Mm-hmm. It's weird. Mm-hmm. It's weird. Stuff inside rocks compressed between the layers, you know, gold and different elements and vegetation and things, you know, it's so wild. Some people say, well, creationism is true because you have grass that feeds the cows that feeds the people. It's too perfect. Or you're the example of your inner ear, how it's designed and works, and it can't just be that a fish formed into an ape and formed in and had this perfect thing. Like it had to be
eye.
That it had to all be created,
designed.
And it's like, okay, well, was it AI? Was it a god? Was it a computer? You just question stuff too much, you know, too much. Sure. That's what I was saying at the beginning of this whole conversation about just the political end of the spectrum with things that happened or happen all the time, and you just get to the point where you don't even know what to believe.
You just have to believe and have faith.
Yeah.
You just have to have faith.
Yeah.
Stop questioning. Just have faith. Don't question.
Yeah, but then you can live like that. That's fine. Live your life. Have faith, right?
A little less turmoil and stress on you, I guess.
It's less to have your mind wander and you'll think that's evil or whatever. But then you're hanging out with your cousins one night and you're looking up at the sky while you're talking. It's a dark night in the mountains in West Virginia, and all of a sudden you see stars moving, and all of a sudden you see 6, 8, 10, 11, 12 stars form a line, and then they form a circle, and now they're spinning, and then they do a V formation, and then they make an X, and then they make a square, and then they spin back around, and then they form a line, and now they're moving across the sky, and there's 5 or 6 of you looking at each other going, what is that? That happened. Me and my cousins, to this day, my cousins, I ask them almost every time I see them, do you guys remember that? I just want to make sure I'm not just dreaming that. Yes, I remember that.
Wow.
What do you think of it? No idea, because when you look up at the stars and you believe that the stars are way far away.
Right.
And
right.
You see something in the sky that's the approximate size, you would think, well, that's got to be closer. But it's so far away that it can't be like in the atmosphere. It's got to be on the level of where satellites would be orbiting or something. And all of a sudden they're doing like this almost military style formations and like practice. And you're like,
how long ago?
80s,
what year?
80s, early 80s.
So to say that.
So when you said to me, do I believe that something's out there?
Mm-hmm.
I have to say yes because of that. But then how do I not know that wasn't us?
Right.
An advanced space force or something. Like when we said it's not the year 2025. No, it could be the year 3600 for all we know. It's the year 3,600,000. And that shit is just our little secret Earth force that has protection over every country.
Well,
but we still have these uprisings against each other and bicker like brothers and sisters.
The number's kind of irrelevant at that point. It could be any number you say.
Yeah.
But what times they're telling you you're living in versus what technology is available, and
you see something like that that belies what you know of technology, like you said.
In the 80s,
it's an F-14. Why couldn't they just give us that? Because that thing can leave the atmosphere. What the hell is that? None of us know to this day.
And you would think that if one country had that technology, they would show it and go, now what?
Yeah.
Now what? The rest of the world?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like I said, that's why I'm always coy to say you go through life with your beliefs and your political ideology, and then something happens that takes you completely out of it. No matter what way you want to slice it, something's going to come out of your child's mouth or your friend's mouth that's going to make you both go, oh shit. Did it? Would it? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
You know, and then you're like, damn. So there's more, there's this human element where, we're always going to have good times, bad times, our emotions, disagreements, life and death and all these things. And like, think about when there's like great discourse, like let's just say over the last 10 years, there's been a lot of discourse politically based. And then you have these great natural things happen, big fires, people need help, big hurricanes, big storms. Call it global warming, call it whatever you want. It's a time of need for a great swath of humanity. And people come together and prove to you that it doesn't matter what we feel at that moment. We're helping each other. We're doing the right thing. And we're putting a hand out to help somebody up. And then we go back to our infighting and all the bullshit, afterwards. But it's like I said, like you carry all that until these big things happen. And sometimes they're not so big. They're just like, they're little slight things where you just go, what did I just see? What was that? I think about that movie. What was that movie with Al Pacino and Keanu Reeves? And they were attorneys, but it was like for heaven and hell.
Mm-hmm.
Was the interplay there? And
the devil's
advocate or something, or
maybe, or
the devil's trial lawyer or something. And there was a moment where he glanced and he saw like a demonic face, and when he looked back, it was a human again. Like they borrowed whoa, he had his form changed until I looked, and then he went back or whatever. So you have moments where it's like you catch something in a reflection sometimes. Roddy Piper, the pro wrestler, God rest his soul, he was in that movie They Live, and they put on the glasses and they can see who the aliens are and everything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's quite that dramatic, but it's like there's things where the information is the glasses, basically. And if you don't have the information, you can't see clearly. So all we do in the meantime is just make shit up, and then everybody gets riled up about it. And then, you know, some of it might be true, some of it might be bullshit. A kid goes into a school and shoots it up, and a guy gets on a radio show and says it never happened. Mm-hmm. And then you got other people over here crying saying they lost their child. What? Some people buy it. Some people say maybe he's right. You know what I mean? Like, it's always after. Right. It's always after. Somebody gives you a theory and makes you think twice, and you go, oh, maybe that is what happened. Or, you know, I'm going all the way back around to the beginning, you know, the 9/11s and the assassination attempts and all this stuff, you know. It's, I feel like those are like human nature kind of things. You're trying to just make sense of something.
Right. Yeah.
And when it's on this greater scale, the thoughts are smaller and they carry more weight because it's easier to accept than to put your mind in this place where you can open it up to like these other possibilities. Because like you said, being raised conservative means also being raised religious, and then the religion has its own levels of mind fuckery based on here's what it's saying in the scripture, but here's what I want you to know that it means.
Yeah.
But when you teach me English and you teach me ways to understand what I'm reading, and then I go back and read it, I go, that's not what that means. But you ingrain that in here, and then I become sort of like, you know, I don't know the word, but you can play on people's minds and their perception, and then, like I said, doesn't matter. I'm sitting on a rock with my cousins and see this crazy thing, and then we all, to this day, 40 plus years later, go
unexplained.
Can't explain it. Can't explain it.
Yeah.
So, the best explanation is it was UFOs.
I mean, if it happened last week, I would say it's drones.
It's drones,
right?
But what if it was drones in 1980?
That would blow my mind because
that had
technology
that had the ability to leave the atmosphere to do formations and testing and do all this stuff and just reverse engineering. And there's this whole like secret fleet of this type of technology that's just kind of
Space Force
kept off to the side. Like, you'll never know about it till we need it.
Right.
You know, like, yeah, what if it was the drones, and then another country was able to see some of it or catch one that fell, reverse engineer, make their own line? Hey, we can sell a commercial version of this.
I wonder.
And make our millions, and then nobody knows the wiser, you know?
I wonder if the technology was there to do that, why would they have lights on them? Ask yourself that.
Well,
why would they put lights on?
I made that joke the other day. People were saying all this shit about the drones over New Jersey, but the lights were blinking. Like, do you think a UFO was trying to be safe? The difference is back in when what we saw when we were kids was a solid light, like a star.
Sure, but why would they even put lights on them? Why wouldn't they go dark so they can hide? And they should be able to detect themselves.
Agreed. And the best explanation there, the only explanation I could give for it is that was the rocket, the engine propulsion that we were seeing.
Yeah, but if they're moving at that precision, though,
that's it.
That seems, because they would want somebody to see them, right?
A light or flashing light, and that could have been that could have been a peekaboo. Here we are. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to see, when people say lights, I joke and I say, yeah, it's because the UFOs don't want to run in. They don't want you to run into them when they come down at night, you know. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, when you tell somebody, we could see them, they look like stars. You say, well, why would it be lit up then? Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't they shield themselves?
Right.
Hell if I know.
Oh, I'm not denying you've seen it.
I know. I'm just saying,
posing the question.
It makes perfect sense, and I don't have an answer.
Why would they project a light on there, knowing it could be seen? If they wanted to be clandestine, they would just go dark. Because obviously, if they have that type of technology, they know where each other is in the sky. They don't have to worry about running into each other.
And judging by where we were at in the lay of the land, other countries would have seen that. Mm-hmm. If it was as high as it
appeared to be,
then you would figure Canada would see it, South America could see it. So then if it's
maybe even over in Europe,
I was going to say if it was
because you're on the East Coast.
If it was Canada, then maybe up into Siberia could see it. I would think. I don't know. I've never met anybody else that said they had I've heard people say similar sightings, but never from that time. It'd be really neat if you could somehow figure
Starlink.
out. Yeah, it'd be really cool if you could figure out when, and then find people that saw it too in different places. That'd be really neat. But
start a chat.
It's just the 5 of us. Well, you'd probably get
the West Virginia 88 crew.
There'd be 10 people. I seen that last week. It was like literally like it had to be between 81 and 83 because it would, or maybe 80, 81 and 85. Because I'm trying to think if my mom was still here. She died in 84.
So you were 10 to 12.
I was 10. My cousins were, they're 10 years older than me. So they were already 19, 20 years old, 18 years old, 17 years old. So it's not like, you know what I mean? So if you've got a good span of kids where, some are already adults, pre-adults, it's not going to be like one said, well, I saw this, and the other ones just go
confirm now that they did
where the Chinese telephone, where you say it and then the next kid goes, oh, yeah, I saw it too. No, I've asked them, and I'm in my 50s, they're already 60 plus, so they're saying, yeah, I still remember seeing that. Yeah. But it does pose a question like, well, why would there be a light? It's just one solid light, but why would you see it? Well, maybe we were meant to. Everybody that has these experiences that would have a UFO sighting, sometimes you want to think it was looking
for them
right at me from this great distance. It was just to me. And I don't know that that's true per se. I mean, I've had some other things like that where I just had these just a couple different things in life where stuff like that's happened, and you just say, well, there was another time. So I'll tell you these loosely, and then we can always break them down later. But one was I was coming home from work, and I worked south of here, and I turned onto Highway 2 coming from the west, and I saw 2 jets. They were the ones that can hover. I don't know what number jet that is. They can hover. They were military, dark green. Obviously, we're near an Air Force base, probably within 100 miles, something like that. Grissom.
Peru, yeah.
Right? So I thought maybe it's just training. There's 2 of them. And all of a sudden, so I took this little country road that cuts through some fields to where I used to live. And I look over, and they're in pursuit of something, it looks like. I could literally see the pilots. I was that close. They're over in the field. There's a grove of trees, and they're literally hovering and maneuvering like around something as it moved. And I'm like, I'm sure these dudes could take out a deer, in these jets. But that's what it seemed like. Like they're, and I'm looking for whatever it is they're looking. I could literally see the pilot trying to look physically over his cockpit, like he's looking around. And then they're maneuvering around each other. So they were in good communication, obviously. It could have been an exercise. It's a big open field. There's no power lines. It could have been an exercise. I don't know. But it makes you wonder.
The intent of their look was more than just...
You could see this thing was so maneuverable that he got a little tilt. And I could see...
They can turn, take off vertically, and then, boom, shoot off, right?
And they were just hanging out over this field. And I thought, oh, they're just messing around. They're just getting their jollies while they're away from the base. And then they literally kind of both honed in on something. I thought, holy fuck, what's going on? And I could see the guy kind of craning. And I'm like, holy shit, I just gunned it and got the fuck out of there. But, I didn't have anybody with me. I have no way to corroborate what I saw. So who's going to believe that? The other thing was on that same stretch of highway before turning onto Highway 2, I think that there are not wormholes, but what did I call it? I told John about this. This was back in season 3 when we talked about UFOs. I think it was what I call a time slip. And it can either affect a person or you're at the right place at the right time. That's the only way I can explain it. This happened to me more than 3 times. And it's busy traffic. It's a 2-lane on each side highway with a turn lane in the middle. And I have to turn onto another highway. So it's a 90-degree turn. I'm coming down, and it's weird because it's rural, and then it's kind of like this nice stretch of highway, 421 between 2, where the junctions of 2 take place. What do you got, like 2 miles there maybe?
Yeah.
I'm passing cars, trying to get my way up so I can get over to make my turn. And there's a truck. I pass the truck. I'm fiddle fucking around with the radio. I see that the light's turning, so I got to slow down. We can turn on red. And I look up at the light, and that truck's in front of me. Another time it was a car. Another time it was a car. It happened 2 or 3 times.
That you've passed them.
I've passed them clearly. It's not just a case of passing a white car and there's a white car in front of you. It was the only way to explain it, the exact car. And I could only say there must have been some weird stutter in the matrix. And I pass and maybe this is the way the program, if I'm just talking matrix talk for a second, the program has to run a certain way and things get a little backed up once in a while and there's a lag or a buffer and just switch places. That's all I could sum it up to, but it keeps happening in the same place multiple times.
And devil's advocate here.
Yep.
It isn't that you may have been distracted and allowed that car to get back past you. There wasn't enough time
because
for that
you
to
have
happen.
you have to get over the cars that are continuing. The highway goes down to 1 lane at that point.
Right.
So you have to get over into the right-hand lane to turn right. The cars in the left lane are proceeding forward to continue north, and then there's a turn lane next to them. You're packed. You can't just You're trying to maneuver before you get up there because everybody's packed in. You can't pass at this point.
Right.
You've driven where I'm talking about.
Yep.
And I pass the car. I'm making my move. I get all the way up there. I know I got to slow down because now these cars have made they're in their positions to continue where they're going to go. Nobody's coming over. I've got the lane.
Right.
I'm slowing down. I just glance for a second. I look up and there's the car in front of me. And it doesn't hit me. And I'm like, I just passed him. Did he pass me? Like you said, did he pass me? There's 6 cars here.
There's no time or
There's
distance.
Not enough time or distance.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'm just seeing things.
One time, maybe.
I just think it's what you said. The guy passed me again. Okay, I'll play it off. Exact same area. It happened months later, weeks later, whatever. It happens again. And again, I question myself, maybe it's just I'm tired, whatever. After 3 or 4 times, you're just, to me, I can just only say, there's a break in the matrix at this little place. Go drive through there a few times and see if it happens to you. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. I don't know.
I'll have to pay more attention in that area.
The other one was, I used to lay in my bed at the house I grew up in. We had these old school little globe lights, little globes around our lights. You know, you have to use the little screws to take it off gingerly and then change your bulb and then put it back on. And I'd play this thing where I would kind of just get real calm and I would stare at it until it disappeared. Because you can do that where you look at a light until it kind of takes over your vision and gets fuzzy.
Sure.
Because if you move your eyes, it won't happen. So you have to sit real still and just try to stare at it.
1,000-yard stare. Yeah.
And so I would do that to this light all the time. And I'm doing that to that light one time, and it was like when it disappeared, it was like light enveloped all around me. So my peripheral vision and everything just took this light. It could have just been the light coming into my eyes that I relaxed my eyes or whatever. So that time period, I can't say it was that same day. So I do this all the time. Sometimes I try to do it to fall asleep and stuff. It's the middle of the day. I'm looking at that light, and without blinking, it was nighttime, and I could see the night sky, and I had a room in the basement. Now, how in the hell am I seeing the sky, the night sky? And there was a giant craft in the air blocking out the sun.
Wow.
Think naval ship times 10. Massive. I wasn't even into like the sci-fi stuff that I'm into now, like I am now, because you got to think this was probably 1989, 1990. We didn't have access to as much as we do now.
All right.
You know, I wasn't. It's instantly night, and it's instantly this craft is just hovering. I don't see little green men, anything like that. And like I said, I was playing this game where I'm looking at the light, and then all of a sudden, I'm still sensing, my eyesight is still sensing the brightness, yet I'm seeing no roof over me. I'm in the basement. There's no walls. There's no ceiling. There's no upper, because all that was above my room was another room of the house.
Right.
And it was another floor. It's all gone. And it was like I could sense I was being X-ray was checking me out, like checking in on me. And then it just moved on. Instantly, the ceiling was back. It was back to daylight. And then I kind of shook and looked around like, what the fuck was that?
Wow.
That was the other time in my life where I was like, I'm really questioning things. It was just too weird. It was just too weird. There was a big break in the matrix.
Wow.
That day.
Fluids, dude. You're dehydrated. Cause
yeah, you know what?
Twice.
No, my oldest brother, he would come home from the army, and it didn't matter that I wasn't 21. You're going to drink with me. You're going to hang with me. If you're going to hang with me, you can't pee until you've had 6 beers. So you're like 16, drinking 6 beers, hammered out of your mind, and you can't pee because you don't want to let your big brother down.
Oh,
Peer
boy.
pressure.
Oh boy. Your bladder went double size.
Later on in life, he comes back. He's got this. I remember one night we had the local movie theater, the cinema, and we had to pick somebody up or something. And me, him, and his buddy were sitting in the parking lot just drinking in this big conversion van he had that had like a little mini fridge in it. Give me another beer, give me another beer, give me another beer. We're all drinking beers. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I gotta piss. I've only had now, this is like 2 years after he told me this. I'm like, I can't let him down. I've only had 2. I'm like, man, I better hurry up. Drink. Drink. He's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm on 4. He starts laughing. He goes, you got to piss, don't you? I said, yep. He says, yeah, you can go. I said, no, you're the one that told me I couldn't go till I had 6. He's like, fuck that, I'm going to piss. I said, nah, that's not what you told me. Yeah. I said, here I've been trying to be a hard ass for years with all my buddies. This is, like I said, a couple years later. I said, no, I told him, I said, you're not pissing.
That's not too bad, the first 4 to 6, but once you break that seal,
right,
10 minutes.
That's always the issue. Like typically with beers, I'm having a meal, so the first couple are just to help you eat, and then a couple after that, and you're like, all right, I can feel it.
See, I'm the opposite. I'll have 2, 3, 4 beers, and once I eat, I'm like, not really into drinking anymore.
Right.
So
I just thought, I'm not really big on beer. Yeah. So I used to be, And I think what happened was at some point, I don't know what happened, something with my stomach, man. I was drinking MGD.
There you go. That's the problem.
And I would have 3, and I would feel bloated.
Yeah.
And I'd have 3 more, and I'd feel like I just ate a meal. I was like, that's it for me.
Yeah.
So then I started doing a shot and a beer. So I'd do tequila shot with lime and a Corona, and then I'd have a pitcher of whatever the cheap shit was. And then I'd be good and buzzed up, and I'm like, that's good for me. And then eventually you just feel this bloat all the time. So then I just started drinking bourbons and whiskeys and stuff like that. Even though I already did, it was just became my primary drinks,
right.
you know, whether it was mixed or neat or however. It was just like doing these shots, you know, do a couple of those, have a beer in between, do something else, okay, I'm good. Yeah. You know, try to do the same amount of damage in the, like 6
less
drinks.
Volume.
Yeah, 6 drinks, but can I get really fucked up in those 6 drinks?
Yeah.
You know.
Well,
yeah.
Wrap this baby up.
Yeah. So get in the comments and tell us about your UFO or pyramid theories or anything we've talked about. We've really run the gamut tonight.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's your favorite conspiracy theory? For or against, or both?
I think it's really cool to, you know, it probably has a lot to do with the fact that you and I have known each other for a really, really, really long time. But I think we shatter that thing where it's okay to talk about these things that people shun.
Yeah.
Because it's not so much that it's fun. It's like some of it I think is worth kind of delving into, because in all the crap and lies and false theories and all these different things, that when you keep digging, there's going to be a nugget of truth in some of it.
Sure.
I don't know what that truth is. I mean, look, when I talk about I had a UFO sighting laying in my bed looking at a light, that could have very well been that I fell asleep and had a dream and the light woke me up because I tranced myself out looking at this light. I'm okay admitting that could be a possibility. But what if the other possibility is that I really did see a giant craft over me and the veil was broken, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
There's just always something like that comes along in life where you just go, did that really just happen? Or am I just like piecing this together?
But what if?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's where we connect good and have these conversations and put it here.
Yep.
To say, fight the fear of not wanting to say,
yeah,
I'm a weirdo and I had I had this thing happen or whatever.
Absolutely.
But yeah, everybody out there, I just want you to.
Hello, motherfucker.
And I want you to.
Bullshit. Bullshit.
What?
A bullshit?
That's the part I love.
Bullshit? A bullshit.
He's like, bullshit. Got him. We'll see you guys next time.
Take care.